Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
The kind of old-fashioned cop who preferred working the streets and making arrests to taking tests toward promotion. He was the closest thing New York had to a Dirty Harry.
This is One Tough Podcast on the OG Podcast Network. Here's your host, Bo Dietl.
Welcome to One Tough Podcast. I'm joined here, as always, with Carlo, who's dressed a little down, Carlo. I don't know. I wear a suit. You look like you just came off the ball field. I don't know. And today, we got my really good friend, a New York City councilman, probably one of very few Republicans, 32nd District in Queens, Eric Ehrlich. Now, Eric, first of all, you were the only one against everyone. When I fought to become mayor of this city and take out Big Bird, you stood by me against everyone. Cockhead Cox, everybody. You were a man of your values, and you believed in me, and against everyone, you stood by me. And I want to just say publicly to all the listeners, this is the guy. And if you want to send money or a contribution to somebody, he's the guy, because he stands up for what he believes in, and against all odds, he stood by me. When I ran for mayor, it was kind of difficult, because when I first decided to run, I go see Ken Langone, Steve Cohen, billionaire guys, and they go, well, Bo, we're not backing you if you're going to run as a Republican for mayor of New York. First of all, Bloomberg, $100 million and whatever, and he had all that money, and he bought his way in there. But to be a Republican in New York City wasn't going to work, especially with the advent of Donald Trump being elected president. New York City people hated the Republicans and hated Donald Trump. So I decided to try to run as a Democrat. I fill out the form. I do it. I check that, plus independent, because I always wanted to run as an independent. I figured if I run in a Democratic primary and beat the shit out of them on all the issues, which I did every turn that I could do, and the issues are important because they were all there, I figured then I could have a shot at him, and I figured maybe Cockhead Cox, this empty suit of the Republican, former head of the Republican New York State, who lost the whole Republican Party, I figured he would come across. Then we had this thing called Wilson Bakula. We were all familiar with that. All I asked Cox was, let me run a primary. Eric runs a night for candidates in the Republican Queens County Republican Club, and I think 17-3, they endorsed me over their own candidate. And I'm not even a Republican at that time. I went to 3 courts, Supreme Court, Appellate Court, a Court of Appeal. When the judge looked just like Charlene de Blasio, I said, looks like her sister. Not because they were black. She looked like her sister. I'm a racist. Everybody's a racist. So then all of a sudden, now I'm running. And then I get told that the judge tells me, and de Blasio's general counsel is in Supreme Court, Appellate Court, and Court of... Why would de Blasio send his lawyer to my court when I'm fighting? That's the big question. And one day we should do a call. We should do Bo's run for mayor and uncover all these corrupt pieces of crap. Now, we lost, but you stood by me, Eric, and I really wanted to thank you again for being by me. Let's talk about you now. You grew up where?
Ozone Park.
That's where I come from.
I was born in Jamaica Hospital.
No, I was born in Manhattan. We migrated when I was 6 months old to Richmond Hill, Ozone Park.
I think they pulled out more bullets than babies in the 80s. In Jamaica Hospital. Oh, yeah. Every time somebody was shot in Brooklyn or Queens, they were always bringing them to Jamaica Hospital.
Great trauma center.
Great level 1 trauma center. Do a great job.
Yeah. Now, how many Republicans are in the New York City Council?
3 out of 51.
Wow, you talk about a slaughter.
We're an endangered species. The height was 7. In the 90s, when Rudy was mayor, we had 7 Republicans elected to the city council. Now we only have 3. There are 2 in Staten Island, 2 really terrific guys, Joe Borelli, who I know you know very well, and Steve Matteo. and myself in Queens. I'm the only one.
Yeah. It's just funny because when we were running for the mayor thing, there was a thing called Wilson Pakula. People don't understand, where they could have let me with 3 of the counties, and I ran into the guy for the Bronx out in the Hamptons, and he was, "Hey, Bo, how you doing? You still mad at me?" I said, "Look, I hate politics. I'm not mad at nobody. I tried to take this guy out, and I really believe that if the Republicans would have given me an opportunity, I could have come close anyway, because people hated this guy."
Yeah, I think what the Republican Party needs now more than ever, especially in places like New York, is people like yourself with real world experience.
No. We will never run again, Eric. I'll be the kingmaker. You become the king.
No. My point is that we need people with real world experience, people who are aggressive, people who know about the issues, and people who want to go on the offense and stop playing defense. We've been playing defense for too long. That's why the Republican Party is on life support in New York, and I'm really hoping that the new chairman, Nick Langworthy, can turn things around.
Who is he?
He is the Erie County chairman.
Where is Erie?
Erie County, New York,
where?
Western New York.
What the hell is that?
You got lots of Buffalo. Come on, everybody loves Buffalo.
Buffalo wings.
And Buffalo Bills, not so much, but
they don't have fucking buffaloes.
I'm just
Erie.
kidding.
It's called Buffalo, but there's no moose around
I think they're gone. But the point is that Nick Langworthy is a breath of fresh air. I think that he is going to work very hard to reinvigorate the Republican Party. If we've learned anything from the past 2 election cycles in New York, it's that whatever we're doing is not working, and we've got to hit the restart button. If people are sick and tired of the socialist democratic policies of people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the Bill de Blasios of the world, then we need a functioning 2-party system in New York. The only way we're going to do that is if we have the right candidates and the right message and the right leadership trying to reinvigorate the Republican Party.
Well, New York State is becoming what the ultra left wing people with Ocasio and those other 3 idiots there, what they want the country to turn into. New York City, and New York City especially, is quite left-winged, and they want our country to go in that direction. In reality, we had a couple of opportunities. If we had some proper leadership in New York State with the head of the Republican Party, we could have ran some real candidates. It seemed like they just fished somebody out to run, and that's all, least resistance.
I am frustrated like you, but I run into so many Democrats, Bo, and independents who are scared to hell about the fact that their party is now being taken over, cannibalized by the far left, by a bunch of communists. Let's face it, AOC and Bill de Blasio are not Democrats. I think, my parents were Democrats. Your parents might have been Democrats. I don't know.
Italian Democrats.
That's what I'm saying.
But conservative
they were,
Democrats.
But they were for working people and working class values. The things that are coming out of the Bernie Sanders of the world and the AOCs of the world and the Bill de Blasios of the world is the antithesis, I think, of the real Democratic Party. They represent a socialist worldview. And like the president said the other day, America will never be a socialist country. We're a capitalist country. We're a country that rewards hard work and people that play by the rules and people that take chances. That's the American dream. The AOCs of the world, I think, are so far out of the mainstream that even as liberal as New York is and always has been, I don't even think that they represent the mainstream New York values, the things that we know that our fellow New Yorkers really care about.
First of all, fringe opinions. Very fringe. I mean, if you look at the healthcare policies, that they extend healthcare coverage to illegal immigrants. They don't even do that in Norway. Norway is,
part of the campaign the president should put up is we should have and run commercials and show the socialist country, show Venezuela where people can't eat, show the healthcare system of Venezuela, show the socialist country, and then go to Somalia with that one with the Abba Dabba Doo hat on there. What's her name? Congresswoman who can't even speak English correctly. What's her name?
Ilhan Omar.
What's her name?
Ilhan Omar.
Omar, whatever her name is. And in reality, go into Somalia and see, first of all, homosexuals they kill there. Second of all, lesbianics are not acceptable in Somalia. These are these socialist countries. You want to become a socialist, like Trump says? Well, you don't like this country? Go back to your Somalia. That's where you should have focused, because the other ones were natural American citizens. But in reality, we have this fight in front of us, and this is a very important presidential election, because if one of these kooks get in there, we got a real problem. And there was a couple of issues there that I was talking before we went on the air with this Ocasio. You know, there's some issues about her campaign guy, who he's involved with. There's like a group out there that want a left group that want to take over the country to make us become socialists. And it's something to look into. It's not the conspiracy theory crap. It's all about, she came out of left field. She's a pretty gal, nice smile on her. But if you notice, when she goes off topic, when she's asked a specific question, I don't know what college she went to. Well, she doesn't even know the answers unless she has her script. She can't go off script. She's an actress. She's an actress that became a congressperson.
I mean, let's also be fair, Bo. If Joe Crowley spent as much time in his own district as he did in Virginia, maybe he wouldn't have lost his reelection. Yeah. He was the number 3 Democrat in the House. Everybody said he was going to be the next Speaker of the House. He was a powerful head of the Queens Democratic Party, and he got beat by a bartender from the Bronx who
an actress bartender.
So my point is that this should be a wake-up call for all middle-of-the-road, moderate or conservative elected officials or people who are running for office to say, hey, we got to work hard, can't take things for granted, and we've got this socialist firebrand politics that's creeping up on us, and if we don't change our ways and start pressing the flesh and wearing down the leather on our shoes,
we have problems.
We're going to have big problems. This is not the beginning. Look, Bo, I just want to bring up very quickly here. Look at what happened with the Queens District Attorney race. The anointed one, Caban, Tiffany Caban, because now she is the protege of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Well, they're in a recount. They're in a recount right now.
9 votes or something?
16 votes. It's down to 16. But my point is, it was a 3-way race. And you had the Queensboro president, Melinda Katz, as the Democratic Party official candidate.
Curtis's ex-wife.
Exactly. You had Judge Lasak, who's a great guy and a great friend to a lot of people that we know, and very experienced, by the way. And then we had Tiffany Caban, a public defender who had a downright dangerous platform that was going to end cash bail, that was going to do away with a lot of the things that were very effective in reducing crime.
I think some of them, I mean...
Yeah, well, you want to mention that.
Some of the crimes that she said she would decline to prosecute include trespassing, disorderly conduct, loitering, welfare fraud. I mean, you could say something about marijuana possession. That maybe is, you can talk about. But a lot of this stuff these are crimes. These are things
but we call it
prostitution.
You're a city council member. I'm outraged about what they've passed now. Young men, 17, 18, 19, 20 years of age, commit an armed robbery, stab someone, rob them, no bail. How did that get through city council?
Well, it didn't. It was passed in Albany.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
The point I'm trying to make, Bo, is that it doesn't stop with AOC. Okay, AOC happened, and everybody was up in arms, and everybody's concerned about it. Well, in the same county, in the same place, now we had a very important election for Queens District Attorney, something that should be above reproach, right? And AOC anoints one of her sycophants to run for this office, and now they're in a recount. And if Tiffany Caban wins, I think there are going to be a lot of people who are going to seriously consider moving out of Queens and moving out of the city. They're going to fear their safety.
Now, if I was the head of the New York State Republican, I know I got a dimwit candidate that can't win not going to win against this if Caban ends up taking this thing. Why wouldn't we extend an olive branch to Katz and say, look, we'll give you all, that's how a real mind, I'd rather have Katz in there with her mind than this psychopath left-winger.
Well, there's no question Melinda would be much more reasonable, much more effective, and I think that she would be a much better district attorney overall. We had a few conversations with Melinda Katz, but she declined and publicly said that she would not accept the Republican Party nomination if it was offered to her. So she kind of shut the door on that one. The point is this, that we have an opportunity, if Caban is successful and wins the recount, which they say is going to be completed by August 6th or August 8th.
Who do we have?
There are
Would LASAC come out?
LASAC, I know, is interested. I know that there are a couple of people that work in the district attorneys now that have a lot of experience, that have a lot of respect out there. They are also interested. We are having conversations, we meaning the Republican Party at the state and local level, we are having conversations with anyone, quite frankly, who's interested in taking on this fight, because we don't want to hand this election over to Tiffany Caban, because in November, Bo, that is when this election will be decided. Not in the Democratic primary when we had 9% of the people turn out, only 80,000 out of a county with over 1 million people in it. In November, non-party affiliated voters, blanks, independents, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, every single eligible registered voter will go to the polls and will pick the next district attorney. So even if Caban wins the recount, right, and the primary Democratic nomination, I can predict that there will be thousands and thousands of moderate, middle-of-the-road Democrats who are going to be, quite frankly, scared shit that Caban is going to be the next DA, that they will vote for the Republican candidate if we run the right candidate.
But in reality, Eric, you were the class of the race with this last race that you were in.
And I won Queens County.
Yeah, but Shake and Bake beat you.
Yeah, but I beat Jumaane Williams by about 7,000 votes in Queens County alone.
Yeah, well,
so
that's your county, too.
But that's my county. But my point is that Queens County they voted for Bloomberg. They voted for me. I think had you been the Republican nominee for mayor, de Blasio would not have done so well in Queens. Trust me, because Queens despises Bill de Blasio. And this is it's not just about Queens, by the way, because you have a lot of listeners that are not from Queens. Yeah,
but you got to understand, and with all respect to my run, when you don't have any line, I couldn't find my name on the ballot when I voted, and I came out and I go like this. They had me all the candidates were on the upper left side, and I'm looking for my name. On the bottom right, underneath some Asian guy, was my name. They buried it in the bottom. You want to know something? They just took me out. In reality, they must have done some sort of a name recognition of polling. And if I had any kind of a line, they knew I would be able to swing at them anyway. Maybe not beat them, but I would have given them a fight to the end.
Yeah, what we need, like I said before, is we need candidates who have the real world experience, but who are aggressive. People that have
the balls to say it.
Thank you. Exactly. And I was very proud to support you in that race. We became much closer.
I'll never forget. Well, forget about what votes I got. I think the guy who bombed the plane got more votes than me. But in reality, the point I'm trying to get at is when I couldn't even find my own name on the ballot, people are calling me up. Bo, I went to vote. I couldn't find your name. I knew I was a down and in. Then this moron, Ed Cox, whatever his name is, I said, just give me an opportunity to run against Malatakis. Nice lady, but she didn't have the oomph. I said, if she beats me, I'll drop out. I'll throw my support. He didn't have the balls to do it. And I said right to his face after that, I saw him in a social thing. I went right up to him. I said, you know what? You got no balls. Your claim to fame is you married Nixon's daughter. You're an empty friggin' suit. You know me. I tell him like it is. I'm not afraid of no human being. I pointed right at his face. He didn't know how to take it. Like when de Blasio sees me, you know what he does? He runs the other way. He's got balls like friggin' BBs. He sees Bo Dietl. Today, if he sees me, he'll run out the door.
He's got very thin skin. I've never met a mayor so thin-skinned. And you've worked with Rudy, you worked with Bloomberg, you worked with Koch, you knew Dinkins. I mean, you had friendships or relationships with all the mayors, every single one of them. De Blasio is the most thin-skinned hypocrite.
6:30 at night. He's rushing over to the other guy who's his butt boy there. Eric Lewis is his butt boy. And I'll say it, Eric, you're a butt boy because you don't ask him any hard questions. You come in there, why don't you just have tea and crackers with him? Ask him some hard questions. He's rubbing his eyes at 6:30 at night, getting into the car. He didn't even make the gym. And he rushes to Eric Lewis with his little softballs he throws at him. Now, here's one of the reasons I asked you, Mr. Councilman of New York, here's one of the reasons I asked you to come over. I need you to bring Charlene de Blasio, Charlene McClay into the city council under hearings about what did she do with $900 million. Mental health means you have 60,000 people on the streets. They suffer from mental health issues. That money could have been earmarked there. You have people in Rikers Island, mental health issue criminals, but they're mentally They need help. You have my daughter's a school teacher in the South Bronx. You have one disrupted kid with mental health bad, banging his head, punching people. You can't remove him from a classroom. That almost $1 billion could have been used to help people. Now, when she's asked, I think you were there, when she was asked what happened to the money, she's talking about different plateaus. I still don't understand. I'll say it right now on the air, and I challenge them to sue me because I want to know where that $900 million. I'll guarantee you it went to these, what do they call those, the groups, non-profits. And there's going to be an earmark for some kind of a slush fund that this mayor, he raised 1/3 of his money to run for president with people doing business with New York City, the same old crew, brings the money in. And now, right now, I want to know all these non-profits that $900 million, where did it go? What are these non-profits and where did they spend it and where is that money?
I can tell you the chickens are going to come home to roost.
That's racist. That's racist.
Yeah, that's not racist.
Yes.
I wouldn't say. No, I wouldn't say it if I thought it was racist. What I mean is,
if I said it, they would say it was racist.
Everything you say, they would say is racist. But all kidding aside, it's not the government's money, Bo. It's the taxpayers' money. It's the taxpayers' money that the city is wasting. And that's not the only place that they're wasting it. But I believe that with the intense scrutiny that the mayor is subjecting himself to, he thinks he's running for president. He's in Iowa. He's in New Hampshire. He's in South Carolina. He's in every other place except New York City, right? Mm-hmm. And we had the blackout this week, right? And where was the mayor? He wasn't even in town. He had the race back here, take the red-eye flight back. The point is this, that whether it's the mayor, his wife, or anyone in the administration, if they're wasting the taxpayers' money, we are going to hold them accountable. We're going to go to the press, and we're going to shine that disinfecting ray of light on them because it's the taxpayers' money, and we're not going to let them get away with it.
All he talks about is what he did in New York for him to run for president. The renewal school, $900 million, a total failure. Total failure. The housing, when I ran, I said, look, if they can't run it with the housing authority, let's privatize it. I mean, these are things that you've got to make these kind of moves. Hey, it's not going to be happy, but I tell you what, it would run a lot better if they privatized the New York City NYCHA and then brought the private concerns. You got to do what you got to do, and you got to make things right. The greatest mayor, I think, that we had, one of the greatest. I thought Bloomberg was great. Bloomberg was one of the best mayors we ever had.
Absolutely.
He got stuff done.
Hands down.
In the face of everybody.
But could you imagine if Bloomberg was still in office, which we should be so lucky? I think people would have gave him a fourth term if they knew that we were going to get stuck with this, this doozy de Blasio. Yeah. But my point is this, if Michael Bloomberg was still the mayor of the city of New York today, and we had 60,000 men, women, and children in the shelter system, and we had dilapidated conditions in NYCHA, and we had money flying out the window for programs that aren't turning around failing schools, and all of these problems after problem after problem, they would have his head on a stick or on the front page of the papers every single day. And yet the media, I think, a lot of the media outlets, yes, this week they're more critical of him than in the past, but for the most part, the mayor gets a pass. And why does he get a pass? Any other mayor, the head would be on a stick. It drives me wild.
And he tells you how successful. Even when I ran for mayor, I did my homework with ACS. I brought out about using retired cops, give them a waiver, let them be the investigators for ACS.
That's a great idea.
And that was one of my ideas. It's a natural thing because they say we're afraid to go into the housing project. Well, then you know what? Use retired people. The other issue was when the people he hires, the moron that was running ACS, the moron that was running the housing authority, the moron now from Mexico, wherever he's from, that's running the Department of Education. Oh, we only want black and brown teachers. We don't want white. If that's not a discriminatory thing that I've ever heard, they don't want to advance because you're white. You have teachers that have put their life into helping children learn, whether they're black, white, Hispanic, or whatever you are. How can you make a statement like that?
The mayor is very divisive, and this is how he leads the city. He likes to divide people. He likes to divide people by borough, the outer boroughs versus the city. He likes to divide people by race, by religion. He wanted to do away with the SHSAT exam, which, if your listeners aren't aware, is the entrance exam to the specialized high school.
Brooklyn Tech and all
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Brooklyn Tech, Stuyvesant, Townsend Harris, Bronx Science.
He wants to get rid of that?
to take away educational opportunities from some really terrific smart kids who are accelerated learners who can't be trapped in failing schools. Let's take them and put them in a school where they can grow, where they can excel, where they can get into the Harvards and break the cycle of poverty. And most of them are immigrants. Most of them happen to be Asian immigrants. But
and
the
mayor cares about
but the mayor
Asians.
doesn't consider Asians minorities because he only sees black and white. The mayor is divisive. And that's how he governs. And that's how he wants some of his commissioners, like the education chancellor.
Who he picks.
Carranza. By the way, what happened to the guy in Miami? Everybody remember him? He was supposed to come to New York. And then I don't know what happened. We should call him, get him on the show. But maybe he would have been better than Carranza. He probably started reading. He Googled Bill de Blasio and started reading all these articles. He says, I can't work for this nut job. The mayor is simply out of control. And the point is this. This is really the one caveat that I think people should take some comfort in knowing.
Yeah.
The city of New York is on autopilot. Okay? The garbage is still picked up on time. The cops are doing a great job, arresting the bad guys and gals. And the firemen and the firefighters are putting the fires out. That the city is bigger than one person. And so when people stop me on the street or in the supermarket or in a restaurant, wherever they see me, and say, Eric, this mayor sucks. He's got to go. De Blasio, he's the worst. They say the same thing to you. I say, listen, thank God for term limits because we're done with this guy in 2021. And thank God that the city is bigger than any one person. And that the things that we rely on from a day-to-day basis, that they will still be taken care of because of the great civil service workers that we have and the people that keep the city moving forward. Well, and you, I want to thank you because you were one of the most decorated, I think, treasured members of the NYPD. I think that the police department in New York, and I know you agree with me, Bo, they don't get the respect that they deserve now under this mayor. And for any of your listeners who are active or retired, NYPD or other law enforcement, thank you for the great work that you've done to turn around the city and give our neighborhoods back to our residents and to our people. Thank you very much for everything
I talk to cops every day when I was just walking in here, and everybody's, please keep on going. I got involved with a thing in Newark with a little Hispanic cop that was shooting at a car. They show one piece of the guy shooting at a car. They had two guns in the car. The guy, and all of a sudden they indict the cop on manslaughter. And when you see the whole picture, I had to stand up. That's a cop in Newark. You know what it is? Once a cop, you bleed cop. The whole Eric Gardner thing, I did the op-ed pages. I've taken guys down with headlocks dozens of times. Nobody died. He effectively, it's a terrible tragedy. No one's.
It was a tragedy. And I think it's something that could have been de-escalated. It could have went a different way.
In reality, the way that he took him down in the headlock, when he's saying I can't breathe, he had acute asthma, he had acute heart problems. His sister died, I think, at 27 with a heart attack. And I talked to Dr. Bodden on this one. He effectively, when you have asthma, I have asthma. If you don't open that wave, it contracts your heart when you're struggling to breathe, and that then affected the coronary problem of the heart attack that killed him. And you can't say that Pantalino there woke up that day and said, I'm going to kill somebody. And for people to say he murdered Eric Gardner, he didn't murder Eric Gardner.
I don't think he had any intent to kill him or to murder him at all.
And you know what he wanted to do? It would have been okay. First of all, you see the sides of the cops to Eric Gardner. It would have been okay if he picked one of them up, drew him through the glass window, and had the cop's head sliced off.
Well, that would have been terrible. I was listening to the news just the other night, and they were saying, a lot of reaction from the talking heads, and it's, Trump is a racist, and the Justice Department, we knew we weren't going to get justice under this president. What about the fact that 5 years ago, when Eric Garner died, in Staten Island, that Obama was president in 2014. And gee, wait, wasn't the Attorney General Eric Holder and then Loretta Lynch? How come that Justice Department in the last 2 years of the Obama administration, how come they didn't pursue a civil rights investigation or seek an indictment at a federal level? They had 2 whole years, but nobody's mentioning that. Everybody wants to pretend that Donald Trump has been president, I guess, since this tragedy occurred, and that Attorney General Barr and Trump are racist, and that's why there's not going to be a federal indictment, and that they ran out the clock on purpose for the 5-year statute of limitations. That's not the case. Where was Obama? Where was his Justice Department? They could have easily and independently pursued their own federal indictment and investigation. Where was
Obama? Every time there was a questionable police shooting, or the shooting with Trayvon Martin there in Florida, the officer that shot the fella in St. Louis, and what happened in Cambridge, Massachusetts with with the professor. You had a president open his mouth. If there's anything that could be divisive, he was there, open his mouth, instead of bringing them together. And I challenged him when I was a Fox News guy for 12 years. I challenged him about his hometown. We have over 6,000 murders in the last 10 years in Chicago, a small city. He never once said, well, how can we stop him? I always brought up about using federal RICO laws against these gangs, 3 or more involved in a criminal enterprise, guns, murder, drug dealing, robberies. There's an answer. But he didn't care. And this was his hometown. He only cared if there was a questionable. He was the catalyst of Black Lives Matter. Yeah, but what about the black life of Talisha Johnson, shot in the head, 7 years old, on the stoop in Chicago? Where about her life? Does her life matter? And I love to debate this, because where is the outrage of African Americans in America of what's going on in Chicago, Baltimore? Black people are being massacred by other blacks. Let's get it on, and let's get to the conclusion of saving these people.
Yeah, I think that the danger that we run is that New York, even though we've made tremendous gains in reducing crimes to historic lows, and the NYPD is to thank, not de Blasio for that. We know that.
They took the gangs off.
Thank you.
The gangs were responsible for most of these murders.
If we have dangerous elected officials in office, like Tiffany Caban in the Queens DA's office, or like another Bill de Blasio for another 4 or 8 years after he's out, we could very easily become Chicago. New York absolutely cannot become Chicago. We just can't allow that to happen.
No, and you want to know something? The criminal element will take over the city, and it's not that it can't happen. We're going to go into a heat wave this summer. We start to see little touches of it. Anything can set a riot off. I was around in 77 when we had the big blackout.
And the lights went out.
And then all of a sudden they utilized that as an excuse. But it was a little different time. Right now, a lot of people are getting a lot of free stuff here in New York City. So they're a little more complacent than they were in 77. And that's part of the thing that I get frightened about with Trump not getting reelected, because people don't understand. 90% of the people in America
I think
are living check to check.
If the president is reelected, there might be a riot in New York City, given the animosity that people have towards the president.
You notice he doesn't come back visiting New York at all.
I could tell you he does. It's not always on his public schedule, because I live in South Ozone Park, right by Don Pep's, your favorite restaurant there on Lefferts Boulevard, and I see the president's helicopters going back and forth every now and then. So I know he's in town, even though
when he lands there, he also goes over to the golf course in Jersey.
That could be.
Yeah, he goes.
But I see Marine One, and sometimes I see Air Force One.
Yeah, but I don't think he comes into Fifth Avenue. And you want to know something? In reality, with the environment that we have now,
he's damned if you do, he's damned if you don't.
Exactly.
He could wake up and say it's raining, and if it's sunny, people are going to blame him for the weather. It's a shame. Look, the economy's doing well. I would like to see the president talk more about how many jobs he's creating and how many companies are relocating back to the United States, about the fact that we're not in a war, about the fact that the Wall Street is doing great and that companies are...
And we're strong around the world.
And we're stronger around the world.
People don't like him, but they respect him.
If Obama was able to negotiate a peace deal or enter into meaningful peace talks with the North Korean leader, he'd get a second Nobel Peace Prize, right?
Yeah.
But Trump does it, and they say, oh, it's only for optics, it's for that, it's for this. I haven't always been the president's biggest fan. I've criticized him early on, but he is the president of the United States. I think it's unpatriotic for people to root for the president to fail. Even when Obama was president, I didn't vote for Obama. I didn't like Obama,
for him.
But I don't want the president to fail. When the president fails, the country fails. Now we're at a point in our history and in our society where people are rooting for the president of the United States to fall flat on his face. And I think it's disgusting. It's not patriotic.
Absolutely. Let's get it back to New York, because we're talking about job creation, companies relocating. There was a big concern when Amazon was deciding to move to Queens. Elected officials like AOC got
wasn't even in her district. That was the best part.
Yeah. So I mean, this was something that was going to bring a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities for other entrepreneurs to serve these employees, and it went kaput. So what are your thoughts on that?
Amazon would have been a game changer, not only for the borough of Queens, but for the entire city of New York. The fact that a multi-billion-dollar company was coming to New York to create thousands of jobs. They were going to build union, pay prevailing wages. It wasn't a question of that. Their permanent permanent employees would have had an average salary of about $150,000, which is higher than a living wage, which is what the AOCs of the world and a prevailing wage are trying to push for. My point is this. You can't look a gift horse in the mouth. We chased Amazon. We, meaning these self-serving politicians in Western Queens, they chased Amazon right out of town. Amazon packed up and said, we don't need this. By the way, the billions of dollars in corporate welfare that everybody was criticizing them for, those were deferred property taxes, money that would have been saved anyway and given back to the city in payroll taxes and in all of the...
Of course, what they spend, housing...
The multiplying effect, exactly. Housing. Thousands of good-paying jobs. Think of all the people in Queensbridge who wanted the jobs, by the way. The head of the tenant associations and the public housing, the public housing and the projects, they wanted Amazon. Yeah. They said, these elected officials don't speak for us. Exactly. We have good-paying jobs. We're going to have access to better services in our community. We want to see investments and revitalization in our neighborhood. Amazon was going to do it because the city and the government has failed to do that, has failed to deliver on those promises. Amazon's going to come and give that to us. We welcome them wholeheartedly. But who chased them out? Gianaris, Michael AOC. And AOC.
But here, you're hitting. And then they try to bring it back because it was too late then. Because that's exactly the defining effort of what these lefty communist-inspired idiots are.
They really are communists. You hit the nail right on the head. Here's what it's all about.
Disruption. It's all about disruption, Eric. Not if it's right or wrong, just disrupt. Disrupt, cause conflict, and that's what it's all about. And we all see with this Antifa and all this crap with my friend, that communist piece of garbage, George Soros, that punk from Hungary. What he does is he's the one that finances Antifa. They get dressed with their black masks, their vests, with their bats. I was there during the inauguration, and these crumb buns were running around throwing defecation on people and urine on people going to the inaugural balls and all that. I mean, it's all about disruption, and that's what communism is, disruption. And we can see right now what's going on even in Puerto Rico. Now all of a sudden Puerto Rico's starting to get happy days again.
I just never thought that I would see the day when elected officials from my own borough, from Queens, stand up and basically give the middle finger to a company that wanted to come here and create 25,000 good-paying jobs, not minimum wage jobs, not bad jobs, not jobs that people wouldn't want to do, but good-paying jobs. And by the way, Amazon could have been a catalyst to bring other companies to come to New York City and invest here. And to invest in our city and invest in our workforce. They had a partnership with CUNY. They were going to have a direct pipeline to get people certified with various high-tech jobs that pay a lot of money, pay a lot more money than I make, by the way. But the point is that we were going to put together a package that worked for real New Yorkers and provide meaningful change that the borough desperately needed.
Did you know they also, Carla, had plans for training the community people of these job training,
yes,
to bring people who've never had that opportunity to make a really good salary?
They were going to get a 600-seat brand new school built as part of the deal as well. And also, even the building service workers, they were going to allow them to be unionized to join 32BJ, which represents the doormen and the building service workers in the city. So it's not that Amazon was anti-union. They were going to build union. They were going to allow the building service workers to be unionized. But the fact that these socialist, radical Democrats took 25,000 jobs and billions of dollars in potential tax revenue and flushed it down the toilet because they drank the Kool-Aid from AOC and everybody else, I think it's downright disgraceful, and we can never let that happen again.
I don't know if we'll ever have that opportunity. I mean, this was a diamond opportunity for New York City, for the people of New York, and this is just how they operate. It's disruption, chaos. That's what they want in America. They don't want people to be happy. They want people to be angry and have conflict.
I don't know where the anger comes from. And quite frankly, I think that the media underreports the fact that a lot of these lefties are anti-Semitic. They say awful, terrible things about not only the state of Israel, but the Jewish people. And they seem to have a high tolerance for things that are, blatantly anti-Semitic. And I just think that part of the problem here is the fact that the mainstream media just doesn't report on the truth all of the time. And I think they're doing a disservice to the average New Yorker.
I tell you what, in the morning, I used to watch CBS Morning News, and I would watch them in the morning with Gayle King, who I used to like. Now, all of a sudden, CBS Morning News has turned into a racially divisive news organization. Everyone on there is African American.
I don't know anybody under 50 that watch CBS.
Now listen to this.
Just to let you know.
No, but listen to this. Now all of a sudden, the four stooges, I call them now, the four of those, Congresswoman, she interviews. I mean, it's just the most divisive again. So now I flicked it over and I looked at Channel 4, and then all of a sudden that started. Then I went to 7. I saw a little munchkin there, Stephanopoulos. And then all of a sudden I see my friend on Channel 5, Rosanna Scotto. I love Rosanna. She's great. And I even like the co-host, the heavyset black woman there. She's great with Rosanna Scotto. Yeah. They're wonderful. And I tell you what, I don't know where to watch the news. I want to watch local news without giving me your opinion. Give me the friggin' news. I don't want to know what your opinion is. And that sucks. When you turn it on, you don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
Another issue that's coming up in New York, specific to New York, is a group of landlords and those in the real estate industry are suing to overturn these rent stabilization laws that were passed. What do you think of that? And one of the points they make is that 22% of rent-stabilized tenants make over $100,000 a year, and that kind of could hurt people that don't make a lot of money that are trying to get into that barrier of entry and rent an apartment.
We in New York are making it so hard for property owners. Let's forget about the rent-stabilized apartments for just a second. How difficult it is for a senior citizen who has a 2-family house in Queens or Staten Island, the Bronx or Brooklyn, and they're renting their apartment upstairs because they need the extra income. They have to pay the water bills. They have to pay this high property taxes. They got a high cost of living. Maybe that senior citizen or that immigrant family is living on a fixed income or only one source of income, and they've got this rent coming in, and that's supposed to supplement and help them.
They're living on Social Security, and the rent helps them
something to
eat.
Their tenants, can wreck the apartment, stop paying the rent. You've got to take them to court. The judge will give them 6 or 8 months or 9 months free rent, but you still got to pay your water bills. You still got to pay the rent. You still got to pay to maintain your property. And if you don't, you will get fines from the buildings department, inspected by HPD, nickel and dime from every city agency, threatening letters in the mail from the Department of Finance. My point is that we are making it nearly impossible to be a property owner in the state of New York. Are there reasonable reforms that needed to be enacted? Sure, to protect the rights of people from being abused by the really bad actors out there. And there are definitely a few bad actors. But at the end of the day, we have made it so difficult and so expensive to be a property owner that people don't want to invest in real estate anymore. And we're going to destroy that market as well in the city. I mean, you're going to see it's going to flatten out, and eventually it's going to go down because we're basically taking the keys out of the landlord's hands, giving them to the tenant. And why? Because, again, this socialist, ultra-left wave took over Albany because the Republicans lost the state Senate. We knew that.
Thanks to Cox. Good.
And there are a lot of reasons for that. But, the Democrats took control of the Assembly. They've had control of the Assembly. They took control of the state Senate. The governor is afraid of his own shadow because he doesn't know what he's going to do. Cuomo, where is he in all of this? And the so-called progressives were driving the train on the rent regulations, and they really went off the deep end. And I think that they're doing a disservice to the people who need affordable housing, because we do have an affordable housing crisis in the city.
Absolutely.
But we are not doing enough to create more units, to increase the supply, to stabilize the market, and to help the tenants.
Here's a perfect example, too, is you got my friend Steve Ross with Vornado, not Vornado, related. They just built this mega city on the west side.
Hudson Yards.
There's not one apartment that's anybody can afford, a normal human being. Something like that, and they got all kinds of tax incentives. Something like that, if I was the mayor, I'd say, well, come here, Mr. Ross. Here, let me explain something to you. You want these tax incentives? You give me at least 20% of affordable housing that people of this city, minimal job people can afford.
Well, that was the 80-20, but they did away with that.
They did away with that.
They did away with the 80-20.
You're going to build something so people can afford also. Now you go over there. I think a one studio is not less than $5,000 a month rental. Who can afford that?
Your buddy Jimmy McMillan said the rent is too damn high. Remember?
Yeah.
But he was right about that. The rents are astronomically high,
and they're building these buildings. You can
luxury.
Look at a picture, but who the hell is buying them?
Nobody can. Could you imagine a 1-bedroom or 1.5-bedroom condo in a high-rise in Long Island City going for close to $1 million? $1 million for an apartment.
The same one over on the west side would go for $2.5 million.
It's insane. But how? And who's moving into the city, and how can they afford it? What about the people that have been in the city their whole lives, raising their families? They're getting pushed out. Senior citizens in particular.
At first it was Manhattan, good real estate. Next it went over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn went berserk. Queens, now your neighborhood.
Hey, your old neighborhood in East New York with the rezoning. They're building buildings left and right. But who's being hurt? Latinos are being hurt. The Bangladeshis are being hurt. The senior citizens that have lived there for so long, they're getting pushed out of their own neighborhoods.
Now the new area is your area, Carl.
South Bronx.
Yeah.
There's you probably wouldn't walk there in the daylight 5 years ago. Now people are walking down the street with lattes and there's art galleries.
And you can charge your cell phone at one of those kiosks.
Yeah. But I tell you what, Eric, you're one of. I mean, how does it feel? It's like the Alamo. You're like Davy Crockett.
I'm like Custer surrounded by Indians.
You're like the last guy swinging. You got no bullets. You're just swinging your butt of your rifle because of this onslaught of these communist bastards that are coming. They're like Pac-Men, and they're coming at you. How do you go into the city council? I thought the city council more resembles the bar scene from Star Wars now, right?
So the cantina,
I mean, they got some real winners in there. And that guy who beat you for the what was that?
Jumaane Williams, I ran for public advocate.
Yeah, Shake and Bake. What's with him? Why does he shake like that?
He's not a bad guy. I think his policies are a little off the mark, but he was always a gentleman to me. The point is this: I ran for public advocate in the nonpartisan special election.
What was his background?
There were 17.
What was his background?
Hold on, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that in 1 second. There were 17 candidates on the ballot. I came in second place. I did New Yorkers a favor. I ended the career of the other communist, what's her name? The council speaker, Melissa Mark Favorito.
Fritos, she's over in Puerto Rico.
MMV, but she came in third place. Everybody, MMV, she's the front runner. She came in third place. You add her and the fourth place person, I still got more votes than they did. I got 80,000 votes. I think it showed that there are deep pockets in the city of common sense voters. I won the borough of Queens. I won Staten Island. We did terrific in Southern Brooklyn. Jumaane really ran up the numbers. He did a great job everywhere else. And some of these other Democrats that were on the ballot, they couldn't even win their own districts, which I think was really embarrassing. The point is this, is that there is a moderate, middle-of-the-road, sensible New Yorker who says, I just want to get up every day, go to work, pay my bills, take care of my family, and I don't want to be bothered with this left-wing crap. And enough of them showed up. Not enough for me to win, but I think we sent the message, and I'm very proud of that campaign.
Across America, African Americans and Hispanics, they're doing very, very well. I mean, they got great jobs, and they got great family values. A lot of families out there. They don't want this thing with no borders and all these people, because they don't want to be disrupted. They've now found a place in America that they feel comfortable. Family values, good money coming, good jobs.
What do you want to destroy? Look at Southeast Queens. You have terrific neighborhoods.
Yep.
You got
Cambria
Laurelton,
Heights.
you got Cambria Heights, you got Rosedale. Solid middle class, hardworking communities of color where they're thriving, they're doing well, and they're great people. They're amazing.
Want that? Do they want their children to live up in an
But my point is, I don't think that they believe in the AOC philosophy. They're Democrats, right? And some of them are left of center, and some of them are more conservative than you or I am. Let's face it, especially in Reverend Flake's church.
Yeah,
if you've ever been
I like Reverend.
Floyd Flake is a great friend, great New Yorker. Yeah. He was a great congressman, but
he beat me for Congress.
I know, but he's a great. I know you became friends with him in the years
very
after.
Good friends.
He's a special person.
I think he's a little sick.
He's not well. But my point is that he represented, I think, the bread and butter and the hardworking communities there, and they built those communities up tremendously.
You're a little young, but we used to have a guy that used to run my uncle's best friend. He used to be giving him money all the time. My Uncle Joey Timpanaro. We used to have the plumbing company in Ozone Park. And I used to go to the Knights of Columbus, and it was the great Congressman Joe Adabo. Now, when Joe Adabo used to run for United States Congress, he was the head of the Defense Appropriation, and his seat was the seat that my brother Al got arrested.
Well, he passed away.
But here was the deal. When he used to run, when he go to the voting booth, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. He used to run on every line, because everyone loved him. And that's the problem. Too much Democrat, Republican. I call upon people in New York City that listen to us today, that you have a choice. Do we like what's going on, or do we want to go back to the caveman days when you have to worry about going out of your house and getting robbed, and your kids have to worry about getting stuck up? We must pull this back, and we must have leaders that care about family values, care about our children and our grandchildren. So this is going to be a perfect example of what happens in Queens County if we let this liberal Coban get in there, no matter who runs against Coban. I don't care if it's a Democrat turned into a Republican or a Republican. We must show we don't want to go back to caveman days.
We need people to come out and vote, too. The level of apathy out there, people just, they've given up, they put up their arms, they said, I've had it, I'm moving to Florida, I'm moving to North Carolina,
Yep.
I can't take it anymore, between de Blasio, between AOC, between all this nonsense, I don't care anymore. No, we still need you to care. We still need you to show up at the polls. We need you to register your dissatisfaction, your outrage, your frustration.
Can you promise me one thing?
Yeah.
I want you to head this up. I want you to pop Mrs. de Blasio back on the hot seat. And I called out to my friend. When I ran for mayor, she was very nice to me. And I have a lot of respect to her for our attorney general. And I don't know if she's going to utilize and go after her. She should go after and find out these are city's funds. The attorney general of New York State, if this governor, my friend, whose dad was my friend, Mario Cuomo was my friend, if his son had some ball power, he would tell the attorney general, wait a second, what's going on in New York City with all this money?
Tish James is a personal friend of mine. She's a great attorney general. And the one thing that I think and I just want to put out there is that she doesn't get told what to do by anybody.
Well,
so I don't think you need the governor to tell her to do something. I'm saying that
do me a favor?
She is fiercely independent, and I think that if there's any criminality or any whiff that there's something criminal involved with that Thrive NYC, there's no doubt in my mind that she would go after it.
Why don't you give her a call, Eric? I'm very serious. Let's invite her up to Don Pepe during the week. Let's invite her out to dinner. I'll pick up the check.
Maybe Mateo's. I like Mateo's too.
We'll go to Mateo's on Quest Bay Boulevard. You invite our great attorney general. Tell Bo would love to have her as his guest for dinner. I don't want nothing.
Right.
I would just love to see her.
As long as you're not a registered lobbyist. You're not a registered.
No, I'm not a registered lobbyist. But I'd love to take her out to dinner. And this is an issue that burns my rectum. Like what are you laughing about?
That's a good
If
phrase.
you ever eat hot sauce and you go to the bathroom the next day, what happens?
You get a burned rectum.
Right. So that's a burned rectum. It's burning my rectum to know that New York City, with all this money flowing through it, with this moron who came out of nowhere, who came from Cuba, the Nicaragua, and he loves communism, and this guy's in charge of these billions, $80 billion budget. This friggin' moron with his happy day wife there, pot-smoking crew that can't move on, is in charge of $80 billion. And no one's going to ask the tough questions. I want our attorney general to step up. Let's look at what happened with that money.
Hey, do you know who I blame for Bill de Blasio?
Who?
Anthony Weiner.
We were trying to get him on the show, right, Anthony? Yeah. I don't know.
He's on a gag order, I think.
Something like a gag order. Well, let me tell you something, Eric. Again, I'll say it in front of the lid that we have a lot of people listen to this podcast. You're one honest, tough guy, and you stand by your rights. I know they came after you because you endorsed me. They came after you so bad.
That's all right.
Because you supported me.
I have loyal friends and loyal enemies.
And the funny part about it is I'm a lifelong Republican. This judge goes, you're not a Democrat. You're not a Republican. You don't have any line. Like I thought I was a black man in the South in the 1900 where I can't vote. She goes, you have nothing. And I looked at her. I says, Your Honor, I'm a lifelong Republican. You're taking my Republican Party plus the Democrat. No line. I couldn't even get a line of Bo Dietl line. Couldn't find me.
It was
horrible.
Awful. But you know what? We live to fight another day. We got to fight the good fight. We can't allow the liberals, the communists, and all the other crazy kooks out there that are on television to run the show.
Why don't you run for district attorney?
No, I'm not an attorney.
So what?
I would do a better job than Caban, that's for sure. But no, I'm not an attorney. I wouldn't run for DA. And
you don't have to be attorney.
I'm term limited. And you know what, Bo? Public service should not be a lifetime job. And I think that term limits are very good. We need them. I think we need them in Albany. Quite frankly, that's a place where they're desperately needed. And you know, we need real people with real world experience like yourself.
Go after AOC.
We need
run for Congress.
We need real New Yorkers to step up to the plate to run for political office so that we can start putting some common sense things
but
back
you're one
into
of the smartest guys I know of all these.
You don't know that many people, then. Huh?
No, you're very smart. You know the issues better than anybody. And during my run for mayor, you were very helpful to me, giving me information. And you're one of the smartest guys. What did you ever think of taking her on? What a battle that would be, Ocasio against Eric.
Oh, I think we definitely give her a run for the money. But I don't live in that district. And apparently neither did she until she decided to run for Congress. I heard that she was from
Yorktown.
I thought Westchester. I don't know. She's got a bunch of problems.
Well, I want to just thank you very, very much for coming on, Eric, and I'd love you to come back another time. But please stir this pot. And I'd like to get the Attorney General to have dinner with us. And I'd like to expose the First Lady of this city, what she did with all this money.
I think that's all going to come out.
I hope so.
I think so.
And we do something every week. We call it the Punk of the Week. Now, it could be an issue. It could be a certain thing that's bothering you. What basically is bothering you?
Today?
Yeah. One issue, person, whatever.
One issue that's bothering me today is the fact that our buddy Big Bird here, Bill de Blasio, you know, he's just MIA. It just burns my ass, Bo, that he got himself reelected under a lie, and he's just so delusional. He just thinks he's going to be president. We know he's not going to be president. By the way, he's polling at less than 1%. How embarrassing is this for the city? But he's running for mayor, and I've got real problems in my district. I've got problems in the Rockaways. They're still struggling after Hurricane Sandy. I've got constituent issues that we need to fix and address. God bless you.
It's true.
The point is that I don't have confidence in this mayor to turn things around for the better. And I'm kind of worried that, you know, because he's in office for another 2 years. 2 years is an eternity.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get anything done. It's just what's going on in Congress.
The punk of the week for me is the punk of the week every week, and that's Bill de Blasio. He's the worst mayor that we've had in a very, very long time. And anybody who wants to debate me on that, any place, any time. This guy sucks, and if there's any way that we could get rid of him before his term is over. There was an article in the paper the other day that the governor can remove him.
Yeah.
Sign me up. I'm all for it. We've got to get Bill de Blasio out. He's got to go.
What about you?
Oh, I got to...
Hold on. If he goes out, Jamali comes in.
Jamali only becomes mayor temporarily.
Oh, they have a special...
Then there'll be a special election. And that's when Bo Dietl runs for mayor.
No.
Again, I don't know.
Bo Dietl will never run for anything anymore. But go ahead, Carlo.
So my punk of the week is Yahoo News. They criticized the actor Chris Pratt for a T-shirt he wore. It had the Gadsden flag, the Don't Tread on Me flag. It was a shirt that was Yahoo said it was racist, but it was actually to support veterans. It was to support wounded and killed veterans, and they went after him. And I think that's very shameful to go after someone that's supporting raising $1 million.
Well, my punk of the week's a little slow, but my punk of the week is that punk football player when they came out against the sneakers. And the real punk of the week is Nike. How they backed and they placated to his bullshit about the 13 original colonies. You can't erase history. The 13 stars stood for America, formulating America. And that's what that signifies. And for them to placate to this, first of all, he's white and black, but he wants to be black today. And what's his name? Colin
Kaepernick.
That guy, yeah. I don't even care how you say his name. He's a moron, and Nike's a bigger moron for placating to him. We got to stand up for this country. Look, this country wasn't right when we first started. What they did to Italian immigrants, they used to call us guineas, and my uncles used to have to dig the tunnels for the Queens Midtown Tunnel and all that. And it was garbage. We were treated like garbage. Even when I went on a force, an Italian cop was like, "Oh, if you weren't Irish, you're a guinea." I keep using the word guinea because I'm Italian and I can use the word. And we went through some crap like Guinea go home, but you want to know some things have changed. Things have changed, and we want people to be happy about wherever you come from. And my other real punk is that woman that wears that Abadabadoo hat. What's it called? That congresswoman from Somalia.
Omar.
Yeah. She should shut her mouth. And if she doesn't like this country, I support Trump when he says her specifically. Go back to Somalia. You got dirty water. You got no food. You can't be gay. You can't be homosexual. You can't be lesbianic. They'll kill you. You know what? She's my real punk of the week. She should marry Kaepernick, and they can make a nice family together.
I think she married her brother. I don't know.
But again, Eric, thank you so much.
Thanks,
how can they find you, Eric?
Well, I'm on Twitter at EricUlrich32. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, and I'm on the subway in about a half hour on my way back to Queens.
Spell your last name for the viewing audience.
EricUlrich, Eric Ulrich, and I'm very pleased to be here again with you, Bo. You're a great friend, a great New Yorker, and all the best to you and the rest of the summer.
Yeah. How can they find us?
All right. Thanks again to Councilman Eric Ulrich. You can find us. We're on social media. We're at One Tough Podcast on Twitter. Bo's at Bo Dietl on Twitter and at The Real Bo Dietl on Instagram. You could also send us any emails, questions, comments, concerns to onetoughpodcast@gmail.com. We love answering our viewer questions and taking your suggestions, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II, one that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.